Nazis. Na, seid nicht Maschine.
Before the world you know was born, a people carved their legend into the stone and sand of the Southwest, a tale of courage, survival, and a fire that no empire could extinguish. This is the story of the Apache. And trust me, you'll want to watch this at 1.25x speed to feel the pulse of their saga. Let's dive in. What does it mean to fight for a home when the world calls you an enemy? How do you hold onto your soul when every step is a battle? And what happens when the land you love betrays you? These aren't just questions about the Apache, they're questions about us, about resilience, identity, and the price of survival. By the end of this journey, you'll have answers, backed by historical data, archaeological evidence, and the voices of the Apache themselves. Stick with me, because this story will shake you, and maybe even change you. The Apache didn't just appear in the Southwest. They arrived, migrating from the frozen north, from what's now Canada, between 1000 and 1500 CE. Linguistic evidence from the Athabascan language family, as noted in a 2023 Britannica article, ties them to the Navajo and distant northern tribes. Imagine a people leaving behind everything, chasing a future in a land of canyons and cacti. They called themselves Indor-Dine, or simply, the people. But to the Zuni, they were Apache, enemy. A name that stuck, thanks to Spanish tongues. And maybe it fit. Because when the Spanish arrived in the 1500s, the Apache weren't just survivors. They were warriors. Let me tell you about a boy named Taza. Born in the 1840s, Taza was Chiricahua Apache, raised in the Dragoon Mountains. His father, Cochise, was a legend, but Taza? He was just a kid who wanted to prove himself. Every dawn, he'd run miles through thorns and heat, no food, no water. Why? Because to be Apache was to be unbreakable. A 2023 PBS documentary on Apache warriors says training began young, with trials like running for days or diving into icy rivers. And in that moment, Taza wasn't just running. He was forging a spirit that would carry his people through centuries of war. Have you ever pushed yourself to the brink, just to know you could? Share in the comments, we read everything. By the 1600s, the Apache's world, Apacheria, was vast, stretching across deserts and mountains in what's now eastern Arizona, New Mexico, northern Mexico, and West Texas. They hunted bison, gathered mezcal, and traded with Pueblo tribes. But then came the Spanish, with horses and guns. And everything changed. The Apache learned to ride like the wind, becoming legendary horsemen, as the Museum of Northern Arizona notes. They raided Spanish settlements, not for glory, but for survival. A 2022 report from the Mescalero Apache tribe's website confirms they were guerrilla fighters, striking fast, disappearing faster. Enter Lozan, a Chiricahua warrior born in the 1840s. Sister to Chief Victorio, she was called a shield to her people. A 2023 National Park Service article tells us Lozan could sense enemies' movements, guiding her band to safety. She fought alongside men, her heart a fortress. Picture her on horseback, scanning the horizon, knowing lives depended on her. She wasn't just a warrior, she was a sister, a daughter, a beacon. And in that moment, Lozan was hope. A woman who defied every expectation. Ladies, have you ever felt like you had to be twice as strong to be seen? Drop it in the comments. But the 1800s brought a new enemy, the United States. After the Mexican-American War, American settlers flooded Apache lands. Gold, silver, coal, greed drove them. The Apache fought back. Leaders like Mongas Coloradas, Cochise, Victorio, and Geronimo became legends. A 2024 Wikipedia entry details their resistance. They outsmarted armies with terrain knowledge and sheer will. Mongas Coloradas, towering at 6'6", united bands against Mexican forces. Cochise held peace talks, only to be betrayed. Victorio struck like lightning, protecting his people's way of life. And Geronimo? He was a name that echoed fear and awe. Let's pause on Geronimo. Born in 1829, he lost his family, wife, children, mother, to Mexican soldiers. A 2022 Mescalero Apache tribe report says he could see the future, guiding his people through impossible odds. He wasn't just a warrior. He was a symbol. But by 1886, the U.S. Army had 5,000 soldiers chasing his band of 30. Hunger and exhaustion won. Geronimo surrendered, not to defeat, but to save his people. And in that moment, something shattered inside him. Not his spirit, but his dream of freedom. Have you ever had to let go of something you love to protect someone else? Tell us below. The cost of resistance was brutal. The Chiricahua were exiled as prisoners of war for 27 years, Florida, Alabama, Oklahoma. A 2024 PBS report notes that 50 Apache children died at Carlisle Indian School, stripped of their culture. Assimilation was a weapon sharper than any sword. Apache names were replaced with English ones. Traditional clothing was banned. Their language was silenced. Imagine being told your identity is a crime. Yet, even in exile, the Apache held on. Elders whispered stories of sacred mountains. Mothers taught songs in secret. The fire never died. Here's the hidden truth: the Apache never stopped fighting. Not with bows, but with culture. Today, over 57,000 people identify as Apache per the 2000 U.S. Census. They live on reservations in Arizona, New Mexico, and Oklahoma, blending tradition with modernity. The Apache run thriving economies: ranching, tourism, gaming. The White Mountain Apache's Sunrise Ski Resort, noted on their tribal website, draws thousands yearly. They govern themselves, preserve their language, and honor sacred places like Mount Graham. A 2022 Mescalero Apache tribe report says their spirit dances still echo in the desert. Meet Iona, a 16-year-old Mescalero Apache in 2025. She's part of the Sunrise Ceremony, a 4-day rite marking womanhood. A 2023 Britannica Kids article describes it as a sacred dance, tying her to the land and her ancestors. Iona told her elder, "I dance for Lozan, for Geronimo, for all of us." She wakes at dawn, her white dress glowing under the sky. She dances for hours, her feet steady, her heart full. And in that moment, Iona becomes a bridge between past and future, pain and pride. What's a tradition you hold dear? Share it in the comments. The Apache's resilience runs deeper than survival. It's about memory. Apache elders teach that the land holds stories, every canyon, every river. A 2023 article from the Arizona State Museum explains how Apache place names, like Kailiekalicha, encode history. These names aren't just words, they're maps of the soul. The Apache also preserve their crafts: basketry, beadwork, pottery. A 2024 Mescalero Apache tribe newsletter highlights artisans who weave stories into every stitch. These traditions aren't relics, they're living defiance. Let's reflect. The Apache faced empires: Spanish, Mexican, American. They faced betrayal, exile, erasure. Yet, they're still here. Why? Because resilience isn't just strength. It's love. Love for family, for land, for the stories that bind us. A 2023 National Geographic feature on Native American tribes notes that Apache communities prioritize kinship. Children are raised by grandparents, aunts, uncles. No one is alone. That's a lesson for us all. Who's your family, blood or chosen? Share in the comments. The Apache story isn't just about war. It's about a people who turn pain into power, loss into legacy. They remind us that resilience isn't loud, it's quiet, steady, like a flame that never dies. Maybe you're fighting your own battles right now. Maybe you feel like the world's against you. Look to the Apache. They faced empires, and they're still here. You can be, too. Their story teaches us that no matter how fierce the storm, there's always a spark that endures. The Apache also show us the power of adaptation. They took the Spanish horse and made it their own. They learned English to negotiate treaties. Today, they use technology to share their culture: YouTube channels, tribal websites, even TikTok. A 2024 Apache Stronghold article describes youth programs teaching coding alongside traditional storytelling. The Apache aren't stuck in the past, they're shaping the future. What's something you've adapted to in your life? Drop it below. If this story moved you, hit that like button. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. And comment below, what did the Apache teach you about strength? We read every word. For more, visit mescaleroapachetribe.com or britannica.com. The Apache. Fierce. Unbroken. Forever.